This happened a few nights ago, and I'm still pretty shaken up about it. I only just thought to post it here, so here goes. On Friday afternoon, I got a call from my friend named Sarah, asking if I wanted to meet her and another friend named Lisa at Dunkin' Donuts. We hadn't seen each other in a while. Dunkin' Donuts is about a 15-minute walk from my house, so I decided I would just walk because the weather was fine. I got to Dunkin' Donuts and found where Sarah and Lisa were sat, so I went to go join them. As we were chatting, I noticed that my sister, Elena, was sat at a table in the corner of the room with her friend, Jess. For some context, my sister and her friend are both 18 years old. My sister still lives with my parents, whereas I live alone. I excused myself from the table and went over to theirs. They were sat at a table with 3 seats, so I went to sit down and said hey. They both jumped a little, but looked a little relieved to see me. Immediately, Elena whispered to me, "Don't look now, but the guy in the blue shirt, I think he's been following Jess and I." I glanced over and saw the middle-aged man sat at a table facing away from us. He's passed our table a good 5 times in the past 20 minutes to go to the bathroom, but he walks slower as he passes us, she continued. I told them that they were most likely being paranoid, and that there was nothing to worry about, but for their peace of mind I offered to leave with them so they wouldn't feel as worried. I walked back over to my table and explained the situation to Sarah and Lisa. Both of them laughed it off and assumed my sister to be paranoid. Literally about a minute later, I saw the man get up from his seat and walk towards the bathroom. My eyes followed him, and sure enough, he walked extremely slow past Elena and Jess. In fact, it was almost comical how obvious he was being. Both of them looked in my direction, and I nodded to show them that I had seen him walking slower. About 5 minutes later, I went into the toilets. On my way, I passed them and told them I was ready to leave whenever they were. They both agreed that they were ready to leave right now. I told them I was just going to the bathroom and that we could leave after I had done my business. Elena had come in her car, so she was going to give me a lift back. I went into the toilet stall, did said business, and washed my hands. I was walking down the corridor back to the main eating area when Elena and Jess rushed into the corridor. I asked them what was up, and they explained that another man had joined the strange creeper man, and that the men were both pointing and staring at them, so they rightfully felt unsafe. We walked back into the eating area, and I put my money on our table and explained to Lisa and Sarah that I was taking off. I told them that I would explain what was going on when I went home. We all got into Elena's car and left the creeps in the rear-view mirror. After about a 2-minute drive, we reached my house. Just then, I had remembered that I had been meaning to return something I had borrowed from my mother, so I asked if Elena could drive me to my parents' house, as she was going there anyway. I jumped out the car to get what I had needed when my phone rang. It was Elena. She explained that a car had driven past and had pulled into a driveway. She said the driver of the vehicle was the same creep from Dunkin' Donuts. I looked out of my window, and sure enough, there was a car which didn't belong to the owner of the house parked on their driveway. I got the girls into my house and locked the door. I instructed Elena to take a photo of the car and its license plate, and I told Jess to call 911, as she'd give the operator more information than I could. Elena took the photos, and we sort of gathered around Jess as she was speaking to the operator. She had finished telling the story, and I heard the operator assure us that the police would be in my house soon. A few minutes passed. There was a loud knock at the front door, followed by a loud voice shouting, "It's the police!" We all did a sigh of relief as I went to open the door. Jess told the operator that the police were here, and she hung up. I was in the process of unlocking the door when I thought to look through the spy hole at the top. I peered through, and it wasn't a police officer. It was the same man. I froze in fear and I didn't know what to say. "We didn't call the police," I managed to shout back to the man through the door. Elena and Jess were both confused as to why I said this. "We had a call, sir," the man shouted back. You have the wrong address." I yelled back and informed the girls that it was the creep at the door and not a police officer. Both were rightfully shocked and extremely scared, as was I. I was about to tell Jess to call the police again until I heard the sirens. "Sir, you have to let me in!" The man shouted again. This time I didn't answer. He was pounding on the door. His commands for me to let me in turned into begging and pleading. I heard the police car pull up and some commotion outside. An actual police officer knocked on the door and I let him in. Yes, I checked the peephole first. The police officers took the man into custody, while another police officer took Elena and Jess into the dining room for some brief questioning. I called my parents and Jess called hers. Both were here extremely quickly once we told them what had happened. The man was found with a kitchen knife on his person and some other weapons in his car. Who knows what could have happened if I hadn't looked through the spy hole first. Both my sister and her friend are fine, just shaken up after the whole incident. But to the guy who stalked my sister and her friend, let's never meet. Today I found out from my own mother that her ex-boyfriend, the man I had lived with from age 11 to 20, secretly videotaped my younger sister and myself in our own bedrooms, taking showers and baths, even going so far as to sit on the roof and watch us through the skylight in our bathroom. I'm a 22-year-old female. My sister is 3 years younger. My mom left him when I was 20, around the same time I moved in with my boyfriend. The reason I moved in with my boyfriend was because my mom's boyfriend had started to make me more and more uncomfortable. Greg and I, since I was 11 and had first met him, had always gotten along fairly well. My mom went through a slew of boyfriends after divorcing my father when I was 4. By 11, I had already been to 3 different elementary schools and lived in 4 different houses from living with my mom's boyfriends and it not working out. I was used to it. I was a quiet girl who liked to read and kept to herself, so I was always polite enough knowing at some point or another either him or my mom would go off the deep end and I'd never see him again. My little sister hated Greg from the first day. Absolutely would not tolerate him. For the 9 years he was in our life, they'd have screaming matches almost every day. We should have listened to her innocent 8-year-old instincts, I suppose. But as I said, Greg and I got on fairly well, although he always did make me a little uncomfortable, just from certain instances here and there happening. When we first moved in with him, within a week, he coincidentally lost his job. It took over a year before he got another one. My mom supported him for that whole year, yet he was always giving her crap if her, my sister, and myself had a shopping day, where she gave me money when I went with friends. One time he accidentally walked in on me when I was about 13 changing out of my bikini after we all got home from the lake. Another time I was 14 and I awoke to him and me in my sister's bedroom on Christmas Eve in the middle of the night, just staring at us. I confronted him the next day and he chalked it up to saying he wanted to make sure we were asleep before Santa came. My little sis and I stopped believing in Santa years before thanks to the other kids on the school bus. When I was 16 and had my first real boyfriend, Greg would absolutely terrorize him to the point he refused to come over to my house. Now my real father is a cool cat who unfortunately had to deal with my mother in order to see us. She's selfish and crazy and played up the whole I deserve my little girls over a man raising them thing. But my father would shake hands with the boys I dated, and treat them with respect unless given a real reason to dislike them. Greg would belittle them, get in their face, treat them like they were all asshole punks. I ended up dating the same guy for the last 3 years of high school, and Greg never once had anything nice to say about him. My boyfriend at the time thought it was because he was taller than him. I think the most memorable and prominent memory that really made me so uncomfortable I moved in with my boyfriend was Greg opening up to me. I was 19 and had just moved back home from college out of state after 1 semester. He opened up to me that my mom hadn't fucked him in a year, then moving closer to me when we were smoking a joint on the sun porch. There are a few more instances that happened, but basically I lived with this guy for 9 years of my life, through the hardest years yet of my life. Puberty, discovering my own body, dealing with the fact that at 12 I already had a C cup with a size 0 waist, learning to love my body and be comfortable with dealing with the horny boys my age always trying to mess with my head. Never mind discovering a supposed father figure in my life was secretly watching me in intimate places I thought I had 100% privacy from the entire world in. I hadn't lived with him in 2 years, but I honestly felt so violated, and I'm still trying to cope with this bomb that's been dropped on the final years of my childhood. My little sister doesn't know, and I hope she never finds out. I'm furious my mom didn't do anything about it, other than leave him when she discovered the videos and files on his iPad. She initially told us she left because she kept catching him on teen pornography websites. That makes me wonder if he sold any of his videos of us to other pedophiles, or uploaded them anywhere. I shudder at the thought. I guess he's involved in a pretty serious sexual harassment case at his work currently. He has a grown daughter of his own that seems to worship him. My friends have seen him out downtown at the bars with girls who are clearly old enough to drink but resemble 16-year-olds. I'm honestly so confused. I'm fortunate enough to have been protected from the truth until I was 22 and in a stable place in my life, so it probably won't traumatize me for the rest of my life, or so I hope. I'm just so shocked. I've been a long-time stalker here at Let's Not Meet, and I've shared a few of my encounters in the comments. I won't embellish this. It was quite a traumatic experience in itself, and I'm not sure if I'm really over it. I still hate male strangers getting into my personal space, and I still get nervous if they stand too close with their hands in their pockets. I was in primary school, probably around 9 years old, when I'd been playing with friends near our houses. We lived in a cul-de-sac with an alleyway to the right side. We'd been outside for a few hours, when some young scallies walked by. Back then, they'd wear tracksuits, trainers, etc. It's important to note that not all of them are shithouses. One of the younger and shorter lads stopped to observe what we were doing. I'll reference him as A for asshole from here on out. A came up to me even though I was much taller than him. I've always been exceptionally tall for my age, and I'm 5'11" now, and started trying to get information out of me, such as what high school I went to. I explained that I was in primary school, which he didn't believe due to my height. Then he asked me for a cigarette. Obviously I wasn't a smoker, and I told him as much. He started making fun of me after that, telling me I was tall because I'm a freak girl. I thought I'd be smart and ran for the alley, only to realize a lock had been put on the door. One of our neighbors hated the local kids using it, and I realized at that point he'd put on a lock to keep us out. A had followed me into the alleyway, as had my friends. He blocked me in against the door, and my friends were stood in a gaggle around 6 feet away. A then put his hand in his left pocket, and I could see the shape of a pocket knife poking through the material. I had a knife of my own that I wasn't allowed to take outside. I was only allowed to use it in the house or on camping trips, so I recognized the shape. He pulled the handle out, and tried to bully me into complying with his orders. He was telling me to take off my jumper. I'd been frozen in fear up to this point, but said no. I stared at my friends, expecting at least one of them to stand up to him or grab him, but none of them did. My best friend at the time was 2 years older than I was, and should have gone running to my house for help, but she didn't. A told me that if any of us screamed for help, he'd stab me. He still had the handle of the knife poking out of his pocket, and kept his hand around it while his other hand was by my face against the alleyway door. At that point, I did scream. A much older teenager who had been walking towards our direction heard me, and came running over, barreling through all my friends. I remember scuffling with A, trying to push his arm away from his left side. The older teenager grabbed him by the scruff of his tracksuit jacket, and pulled him back roughly before exchanging words. My friends all ran off to our cul-de-sac, and A had also scampered, so I said thank you to the stranger and ran home. I told my mom and dad about it, and we did file a police report, but nothing came of it. He visited me once more a few months afterwards, but I ran straight back into my house the moment he turned up. A few years later, when I was in my second to last year of high school, an older teenager shot me in the leg with an air rifle when I was on my way home from school. Facially, my features hadn't changed much at all. I was just a lot taller. The older teenager seemed to know me and shot me on purpose. When I gave a statement to the police about the incident, it made me think of A. I knew he lived in the same area that I did, and the guy who shot me in the leg looked an awful lot like from what I would remember, just older. The police issued a citation to someone from what I can remember, but nothing else came of it. I haven't seen him since. What is up, guys? Blue Spooky here, as always. I just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching, especially if you made it this far to the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed the video, please feel free to leave feedback in the comments below, as well as perhaps like, share, or subscribe if you feel so inclined. If you have a personal story that you'd like to submit, or you'd like to just send me a message, links to all of my social media will be in the description for the video below. This includes my Gmail, Twitter, and Facebook accounts. Go ahead and send me a message on any of those, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. If you do decide to send in a story, please be sure to include in the tagline what the theme of the story is, if it has any, the name of the story, and how you would like to be credited in the description of the video the story appears in. If you're curious at all about the music used in this video, the music is always listed in the description below, in the order which it appears. I also have links to the artists and list the tracks by name, just in case you want to find more of their work. Last but not least, if you have any criticism, please be sure to leave it in the comments below, as I'm always looking for new ways to improve the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.